Namaskar. Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to the Editorial Edge, StudyIQ's daily news analysis that comes to you each morning and every morning at 8 a.m. I'm Bhuvan for those of you who are joining me for the first time, and for those of you who already have been regular students of this initiative, I welcome all of you. All right. So, on the agenda today, we have three articles, three very brief articles, in fact. Okay. Normally, what we do is we take a deep dive into the topic. We understand it right from the prelims up until, say, at least the mains. Okay. All the concepts that are there with a special focus on the mains questions. This is what we do ideally. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Please, all of you are welcome to this Tuesday morning, on this Tuesday morning. Thank you for joining. Okay. So, coming back. So, what we do ideally is we take a look from prelims to, mains. However, in today's discussion, so I had a lot of news, in fact, to cover. Okay, so first let's discuss what we are going to cover. So first we'll take a look at the Central Consumer Protection Authority. Now this is in the news because several prominent coaching institutes are in the dock because of misappropriation or misrepresentation of results. Okay. So again, what's important for us is to understand the organization and what exactly is the concern, So you must have seen, say, particular individual X has gained, say, particular rank, say 22 rank in the examination, and you find like all the coaching institutes saying, oh, he was my student, or she was my student. Good morning, Bulbul, Jyotirmay, Madhusudan, Coder. Good morning, all of you. Okay. So firstly, what's the problem with that? Obviously, there is a problem. Okay, and we'll take a look at the organization, the Central Consumer Protection Authority. What does it do? What's its remit? Which ministry it reports to? What are the different advertisement related problems, influencer marketing related problems? Because again, this is a problem that has come up in the last, say, 2-3 years. Post the coronavirus pandemic, you are seeing a lot of the proliferation of financial influencers also, right? So what's the problem with that? Because if you have been seeing the news recently, you must have seen the Security and Exchange Board of India, SEBI. So most of the articles, again, without going into, say, particular reference to a particular individual, but then the SEBI outlook is supposed to be like they're going to tighten the news around this group of financial influencers. Those who will, say, influence your decision making when it comes to investing your money. Okay. So what's the problem with that? Because again, you have, say, registered advisors who are registered with the SEBI who do this job in a responsible manner. However, if today I was to start, Jai Hind, Vaibhav, how are you? Good morning, welcome. So if I were to start doling out all that kind of financial advice without having, say, the credentials for it, what's there to stop me? Okay. What's the problem with that? We'll take a look at that. Very interesting, in fact. So you'll probably like this whole discussion. Then second article we'll take a look at is from the Indian Express. Okay. I'll show you the article also. So it's talking about the duopoly in the Indian aviation market, right? So we'll talk about the duopoly, but then again, just quickly understand in one line. For those of you who have been regularly watching, you must know right now that India is to achieve, say, net zero carbon emissions in the next 40 years, 2070. Now you are seeing, say, a massive change happening in, say, how road transport is happening. That suddenly you have electric EVs have come up. We have done a video on EVs also. We have done a video on green electrification drive of the Indian Railways also, right? So with this duopoly in the aviation sector, which is the third sector, say, in transport, okay, what's the long-term consequence of this, and what are they missing? Because if we have to become net zero carbon emissions, then you know by now that the aviation industry will have to shift to sustainable aviation fuel, SAF. Okay, we'll discuss if it's completely new to you. However, we have discussed this in the past, but don't worry, we'll touch upon this. So if the aviation industry is to shift on SAF, a duopoly now, how does it benefit anyone? Okay, we'll see about that. What's the Indian aviation market segment like? All right. We'll also take a look at Udaan scheme. You will tell me, guys. You guys will tell me what is the Udaan scheme. Okay. Or is it 1A there? Whatever. You will figure out and tell me. And then thirdly, again, an article from the Indian Express also, same article, same newspaper, on Rani Durgavati, because I believe the Prime Minister is to go and attend a program in Madhya Pradesh. Okay. and so the program is to commemorate Rani Durgavati. So who was Rani Durgavati? What's her story? Good morning, Rajan. How are you? Welcome, each one of you. Thank you for joining. Okay. So this is our agenda. The articles that I'm not doing, firstly, let's do that because there was a couple of choices that I had. So the other article is on the World Competitive Index or the competitive report that has come up. Okay. World Competitiveness Index. So India is ranked 40. Okay. India is ranked 40 in the year 2023. Briefly, I'll touch upon this because again, we'll do this later. But just for now, India is ranked 40 for the year 2023. Last year, we were 37. Okay. And so it goes and measures on say 4-5 criteria. All right. We have done well on government efficiency. Okay. Whereas the rest, we are still not doing enough. So government efficiency, we have done well. So, but industry, economy and business efficiency, this we have not done well. Okay. So don't worry. You can just take a brief note of this down. We'll discuss this in detail actually, the ramifications of this, but just the factual analysis of no point to us. Like straight away you'll remember, okay, World Competitiveness Index, India is ranked 40. It is published by the IMD, which is the International Institute of Management Development, IMD. And they have a particular cell, okay, it's called the World Competitiveness Cell. Some fancy name, but their only job throughout the whole year is to just come up with this report, okay. So IMD's WCC cell has come up with this report and India is ranked 40, but okay, that's about it. But in terms of the ramifications, we'll take a deeper look at it, especially why India ought to be doing better in these other ones, okay. Especially if you're again looking at say improving your ease of business, getting that ecosystem in place for say foreign companies to come in and invest more in India. What else do you need to do? Obviously, you have done enough so that Tesla is coming, Apple is coming, yes. What else is needed? Something else is needed so that you push the bar higher every year, right? एयरपोर्ट डेवलपमेंट स्कीम है सर उड़ान, यस वैभव, और उसमें और क्या क्या है मुझे ये भी बताइए. सिर्फ एयरपोर्ट डेवलप होता है या फ्लाइट प्राइसेस भी कैप कर सकते हैं या आप उसमें पीपीपी भी कर सकते हैं एयरपोर्ट डेवलपमेंट के लिए? वो स्पेसिफिक्स थोड़ा जानना ज़रूरी है. विल डिस्कस, ठीक है, टाइम परमिटिंग विल डिस्कस दैट ऑल्सो. ऑल राइट, let's get into it then guys. So again, if you're joining me for the first time, you know, regular watchers, most of the students are there on this group. But if you're joining me for the first time, please consider joining the Telegram group. You will see, my apologies. You will see that there is a lot of good work that we do. Okay, question sharing, knowledge sharing, and the essential creation of that interest in a particular subject is required, especially from the prelims perspective. Like I've told this previously also, you need to have a wide range of interest, you know, and to a particular depth of interest in that topic. So we try and do that, okay. Obviously right now I don't want to go ahead and spam 50 articles in a day and I know that the students won't read it. There's a limit, 1 or 2 articles say in 1 or 2 days, but that's in addition to what we discuss here. Okay. So it will be of benefit to you. Go ahead, scan this and I shall see many of you there. All right, let's jump into it. So first let's discuss consumer protection. Because if you are to discuss the authority that is engaged in consumer protection, first understand consumer protection, all right. So the basic rights of you, my dear consumer, all these rights are there, no? Right to comfortability, security, safety. See, who is a consumer? First understand that. This is important. Let's go from the basics only. So who exactly is a consumer? If you are paying for a particular service or if you are paying for a particular good, okay, then you are considered to be a consumer. Now the ambit, the interpretation of this in the eyes of say the Central Consumer Protection Authority or the different tribunals and courts, that is very wide. So write this down. The interpretation of who a consumer is very wide. So now for example, you go to a, okay, let's understand this way कि आपको याद रहेगा. For example, if you go to a major hospital, okay, like a big hospital, big name, all right, you pay for your treatment there, something goes wrong, well, you approach the Consumer Protection Authority. Anyways, by default, you are a consumer, you have paid money there. Suppose you go to a government hospital that gives free treatment, okay, you don't have to pay anything. Are you a consumer then? What would you say? Think for a moment. You go to a government hospital, you don't have to pay, free treatment, free medicines, free admission, everything. Are you a consumer? Yes, you are a consumer even though you haven't paid anything at all. Okay. The moment, because it's a service being provided by the government, okay, and so thus the financial transaction is not the only consideration when it comes to identifying a consumer, okay, especially when it comes to government organizations. So you go to a government hospital, you are a consumer. What about if you go to a charitable hospital, which is run by a private body or a trust, and they don't take money from you? Then are you a consumer? Suppose if something goes wrong, what would your opinion be? Tell me, guys. Let's do this little interactive, we'll make it today. What would you suggest? That if you go to a charitable hospital, you don't have to pay money. The hospital is operated by a private body or a trust or an organization. So what would your understanding be? Would you be a consumer? Correct? See, the thing is, in charitable hospitals, even though you haven't paid any money, to the point that you haven't paid any money, you are not under the definition of a consumer. But the moment even a rupees transaction is done, say simple discipline you have to buy, you bought it from the local thing in the premises of the charitable hospital, you become a consumer. Okay. You go to these eye donation camps that happen now, guys. You must have seen in your locality or in your city or in your town, these eye donation, eye checkup camps, blood transfusion camps, all of this happen, right? So who is responsible for that? What if something goes wrong? Can you approach the authority saying, you know what, I volunteered to go to this eye checkup camp and they did something wrong with my eye? Still you are a consumer because they are providing a service. You see, so the interpretation of who a consumer is very, very wide. It's always in the favor of the consumer, never in the favor of, or almost never in the favor of those who's the person or the organization who's providing that service. Okay? So now that you've understood that it's a very wide remit, okay? It's not just say limited to the financial transaction. It is also to do with taking a service. Something if you have volunteered to go for, and if something goes wrong, you are well entitled to go and ask for compensation. All right. So let's look at your rights as a consumer, guys. Right to comfortability, security, safety. So for example, you must have seen that Titanic wreckage that went down, that submersible, right? So security and safety, as a consumer, they paid what, roughly $250,000 something per seat on that Titanic submersible, no? Now they signed a waiver, okay? They signed a waiver. You must have seen that, okay, I free the company from any liability if there is any injury, death or anything of that sort during this expedition trip, whatever. Okay? Now, if it was in India, the Supreme Courts will be looking at it from this perspective. Security and safety. Did the company do enough to guarantee the rights of the consumer when they went down underwater, irrespective of the waiver? The waiver is for the security safety if this was taken care of. Was this taken care of in the first place? Samajh rahe ho? Good, Rajan. Yes, you have got the whole thing. Do you understand this? So this is the whole interpretation of it. Just because you sign a waiver does not free the person or the organization paying the service from liability. Okay. Right to choose products or service. You have the right to choice, obviously. True information of products or service condition. Please understand this word here now. True information. What is true information, guys? That the information can be like factually verified and is communicated in a language to you that you can understand. Okay. So for example, you must have seen nowadays ice cream. So you have something called frozen dessert. Have you heard of it? Frozen dessert. If you go to these places online, no, you just check the name, okay, the labeling. The labeling is important. Check the label of the product and you will see that there are two kinds. One is called ice cream and one is called frozen dessert. It's essential difference between them, guys. Even though they both look and taste like ice cream, okay, their composition is completely different. So one has a large amount of oil in it, frozen dessert. Ice cream is milk based or milk product based. Do you realize? So again, if you're having oil in some form with the ice cream, it's not very healthy for you. Ice cream anyways is not very healthy, but then if you're having oil with it, it's double like injury to yourself. You see? So true information needs to be provided to the consumer, again in a language that they can understand. Okay. Right to complain and to be heard, grievance redressal. Right to advocacy, protection, dispute settlement. Again, you have the people, the places where you can approach if your rights have been infringed. All that are your basic rights as a consumer. Okay. Right to be informed about your rights. You see, half the public does not know what their rights are. Right? That if there is, suppose, a credit card, in the credit card market, if you have heard, that if there is a faulty payment and if, because again, if you miss your date here, no, suppose if your due date is, suppose, the 3rd of August, that you have to pay the money by 3rd of August, suppose. Now, in case you paid, but that it did not reflect in the company's account, some transaction failure happened, the money has been debited from your account. Now, from the 4th of August, the company starts charging you X% interest rate. The directives say that if this is the case, then this will not be charged, and in fact, the company will pay back to the consumer, irrespective of whether there is a transactional failure or not. See, the rights of the consumer are to be known first, and only then can you assert them. Okay. Right to be served and treated without discrimination. Absolutely key. You must have seen those videos in CP, no? Bunch of underprivileged kids going with, again, an influencer to say McDonald's or KFC or whatever, Pizza Hut, Domino's. And then there people are like, no, we can't serve them. If those kids wanted, and if he sued that particular outlet, the outlet would be like closed for sure. Because you're discriminating on whatever ground, not allowed. Okay, regardless of whether I'm dressed in a fancy Gucci shirt or simple half pant and shoes, does not matter. Do you realize? You have to serve me. The right of entry, reservation, the right of reserved entry is again very narrowly interpreted. Every place in India is to be frequented by every individual. No problems there unless security imperative is there. Okay. So what security imperative does a fast food outlet in Connaught Place have? Realize? So if those kids had sued, like problem, big problem. Okay. Right to seek compensation and redress. If you face any of this, you are not just going to get compensation, you are going to be like amply compensated. Not just for the problems that you undertook, but also for the lack of service or the lack of delivery. Realize? So the consumer has a wide range of rights. And so a couple of just things that you need to know about. Obviously, you must know about this, Jago, Grahak, Jago, consumer awareness. Okay. It's become like as famous as Incredible India. Everyone knows about this. And the consumer helpline number. Okay. This is for your own personal information. The examination will not ask you. But as UPSC aspirants, someone who's studying in that direction where you are going to be a chain in the government system, if you are not aware of your rights yourself, how will you help others know about their rights? So first, it's important for you, not just from the exam perspective. Okay. All right. Okay. So let's look at this, guys. One thing I wanted to discuss now, have you seen these particular food labels, guys? You know, where the labeling first, it used to be, two changes have happened. Just very briefly, I'll discuss. Two changes have happened. Firstly, you must have seen before, earlier, it used to be that best before date used to be written. That expiry of a product, you must have seen a particular best before or take a use before 6 months. Do you realize? And then you had the manufacturing one stamped alag se. So now that leaves room for, again, misappropriation. Maybe you have put the stamp later and the best before earlier. The product might have expired even though the product shows best before. So now that has been changed. Now it is use by date, I think. Okay. That you have to mention the date compulsorily in the packaging. Right. So all of these are what? To make sure that the consumer is aware. That the consumer should be absolutely aware. Okay. You must have seen face washes, facial creams. They have something called paraben. Go and read about this today. You know, expect a question on paraben, some examination somewhere. Who knows? Maybe this weekend in the EPFO examination, somewhere down the line. UPSC will ask a question on paraben. Okay. It's a major chemical that is found in, say, all these facial creams, shampoos, conditioners. Again, cancerous. It's supposed to be cancerous. Okay. So you see most of these products now marketing themselves as paraben free. Have you seen that? That paraben free shampoo. Why? Because this awareness came through the West first. There a massive campaign was launched on making sure that the public is aware about the ingredients and their potential side effects. Okay, and that finally came to us. So you realize unless the consumer asserts, change does not happen. Okay, coming back to the discussion, guys. The Consumer Protection Act 2019 establishes the Central Consumer Protection Authority, whose primary objective is to promote, protect and enforce the rights of consumers. They are essentially your go-to people. Whenever there is a problem, they are your go-to people. So what are they empowered to do? Supposed to do? Conduct investigations into violation of consumer rights and institute complaints or prosecution committees. They can even order recall of unsafe goods. You have had cases in the past where the Central Consumer Protection Authority has recalled particular sets of toys from the market because the lead content was high. What happens when the lead content is high? Again, it's very, very dangerous for the children, especially at that formative age. It's like absolutely not allowed. Okay, so they have done that. They have that power. If they find something is not up to the mark health-wise, benchmark setting-wise, standard-wise, they can recall it. Order discontinuation of unfair trade practices and misleading advertisements. If you have seen, say, yesterday's newspaper, you will find a major financial influencer saying that, claiming whatever they are claiming. Okay, so that could be construed to be a misleading advertisement because that advertisement has the photo of the financial influencer, and then you find Government of India, G20 and all of those logos here. Okay. Now, no, the person is again not in the Government of India or in any state government. So they are not allowed to use those logos. You know, the usage of logo emblems it's a major right that you don't get just like that. Okay. Or at least not a right, a privilege, and you don't get it just like that. So again, this is a misleading advertisement, falls completely in that domain, that you are basically implying association with something rather than directly saying, you know what, I belong to say the G20 group or I am with the ministry or some Government of India. No, not allowed. That's again misleading, false. Okay. Impose penalties on manufacturers, endorsers. Endorsers, look at this, publishers of misleading advertisements. Most recently you had, I think, not the CCPA, but this SEBI. SEBI in fact went ahead and fined a particular financial influencer of 6 crore rupees. Thereafter also barred the person from the stock market. Okay. So there is this provision, guys. Okay. This was again a very isolated case. You know how you say in schools, Maggie also, yeah, same thing. How you say in schools, guys, that if you want the whole class to be quiet, pick up one and make an example out of that person. That is what SEBI tried to do with this person. They made an example out of that person, so that the rest of this coterie of financial influencers who are doling out unsolicited advice day in, day out to unsuspecting public, who takes them at face value, invests their own hard-earned money, most likely loses it. So how fair is that in a country where awareness levels about stock is not very high, but digital proliferation is so high? You see that mismatch, which is why SEBI made out an example of this person. So at the Consumer Protection Authority, you have one chief commissioner, two commissioners, one each for goods related issues and one for service related issues. They also have an investigation wing. Okay, investigation wing, and they also empower the DC or the DM. So the DC or the DM becomes the focal point in the district when it comes to, say, consumer grievance redressal. Obviously, you have, say, the district courts that are set up. The district Consumer Protection Authority is there. State level Consumer Protection Authority is there. 3-tier system is there, guys. Okay. And they have a particular limit of cases. The amount of the case, they have a limit on that. Factual, not very important. What you need to know is it's a 3-tier system which can further be improved. Firstly, how? How do you go about improving it? Think from the practical perspective. It's at the district level. You have several tehsils, taluks. The volume of cases coming up just from one district, can it be taken care of by a district level court efficiently? So you need to have, say, fast track courts for, say, urgent problems. Categorize them. Health related, emergency related issues, go ahead, categorize them. Okay. Then after that, you are also looking at enforcement. You are also looking at, say, the power to negate falsehood. For example, now today I publish a full page advertisement in Economic Times claiming, oh, you know what, I am the best teacher of UPSC preparation. For example, if I do that, how will the government say or any particular enforcing authority negate that? Okay, they might say, ask me, show your credentials. How do you claim to be? Okay, I might cherry pick some data. Okay, thereafter you are also looking at, say, enforcement in terms of, say, if I took out an advertisement, can the government take out a counter advertisement saying, you know what, this is true, untrue, untrue, untrue. So who will do that? These organizations. Do they have the funding necessary for that? Probably not. So if you have to strengthen that bond between, say, the consumer and the protection authority, as well as the company, the business, because it's a three-tier process. All three are equal stakeholders in this. So all of them need to be individually empowered. Right now what has happened is that there is a lot of mismanagement happening. If you look at this, this is the government, okay, this is the consumer, and this is the industry or the business. Okay, there is a lot of engagement happening here, but is enough engagement happening here? Okay, and again, this is a one-way engagement. The consumer has to be fed by the industry. Consumer will not feed the industry. But then this interplay between the government and industry is also important. That is the part that where India needs to work on. We have done substantial work when it comes to the interplay between consumer and government. Yes, the rights are in place. The mechanism is in place. But the industry also has the responsibility. Go ahead and address that. That is also necessary. Okay. So misleading advertisements. Falsely describe such product or services. The UPSC example, Institute X claiming that ABC studied from me, and then you find that the same claim is being made by 5 other institutes. Okay. Where is the problem regarding that? Now there have been instances, suppose in Institute X, I went ahead and took a course in 2020. Okay. I cleared in 2023. In these 3 years, I went to Y, Z, other institutes. When my result comes out, X also claims, Y also claims, Z also claims that I was a student of all 3. Factually not incorrect, however, misleading. Do you realize that? Okay. Similarly, you have, say, particular student X who's just taken, say, a course for interview. Because as an interview student, what are you thinking? The more interviews I can take, the more exposure to a level of questions I have, the more capable I will be. It's a very natural thought process. Any student and every student should do that, in fact. However, the problem comes when institutes start claiming the interview student as, say, a regular student. So one way around this is that if you are publishing, mention the particular course with the year the student has been a part of your whole thing. Then it does not categorize or fall under misleading. Do you realize this? Similarly, in the SSC results also, you had, say, 3-4 institutes that were claiming the particular student was mine. A lot of issues. Misleading advertisement. Okay, that is again playing with the emotions of the student. You shouldn't do that. Do you realize? Okay. So, conveys an express or implied representation that yesterday's advertisement, you have a photo of the influencer and then you have Government of India logos here. You are implying association, even though you may not be associated, okay, in at least not in a manner that we know of, okay, which if made by the manufacturer or seller would institute an unfair trade practice, deliberately conceals important information. If you don't write the year, you are concealing important information. क्या वो student आपका 2020 में था, 21 में था, 22 में था, 23 में था? Important information for a student to gauge the credibility of that particular organization. Good morning, Ritesh. How are you? Good morning. Welcome. ठीक है? All right. So just have a look at this. Again, it's very factual. So you had earlier the Consumer Protection Act 1986, which was replaced by Consumer Protection Act 2019. And this is what it has taken care of. All the angles, guys. Have a look at this. There's not a lot to explain. The obvious distinction being that in 1986, you didn't have e-commerce. Amazon, Flipkart, Zomato, Swiggy did not exist. So obviously the act was limited in scope. Uber, Ola didn't exist. Okay, flights did not, flights did exist, but then again, the proliferation, the availability of flights did not exist a lot. Okay. Now that you have increased access to opportunity, increased access to e-commerce, obviously a lot of problems are happening on a day-to-day basis. Go ahead to Twitter check any particular help handle, Amazon help, Zomato help, whatever. Check the level of grievances coming on a particular day, from hair in food to getting stone in place of mobile phone, the level of cases that are coming up. So do you think, as a current structure that we have, that you have, say, from the national level up until the district level, is it enough to solve the magnitude of problems that are coming through? Do you realize? You have had cases, no, where you ordered an iPhone and you got like a Lifebuoy sabun. Huh? So again, rights of consumers are violated. Poor person got duped. So again, that needs to be taken care of, and that needs to start from the bottom-up process. Okay, now let's look at these three contemporary ones, guys, very quickly. So influencer marketing, I have spoken about it to you, that this is a problem area and this will need to be like countered. In fact, if you read the newspaper reports, you will see that the government is already mulling some particular rules or guidelines to at least limit the influence, if you can call it, of these individuals. Okay, you have the SEBI, which obviously barred a particular person. I forget the name, not important to know the name anyways. So that person was barred, okay, fined a particular amount. And so now SEBI is also going ahead and say, giving that feelers, plus you had the Union Finance Ministry also say that they are looking at this problem very seriously. Because the whole problem arises where? Digital proliferation here, digital India, cheap mobile phone, cheap data plan, awareness about stock market here. So there are obviously going to be people who will take advantage of that gap. So either you bring them here or you take this person there. This is the only way that's going to happen. You realize? So SEBI directives obviously haven't been introduced yet. They are expected. Okay. You must, in fact, this is a news I will be tracking. The moment SEBI comes up with, say, a comprehensive outcome document on how it is looking to influence these particular set of people, we will go deep into it, especially from the mains perspective, for sure. Okay. Because it's a new age problem, and it's not a new age problem because again it's to do with lack of awareness. How do you counter that? You just can't say put more advertisements. Like I told you, if I put out an advertisement as a government agency, you should be able to quickly negate it. Time is of the essence. Do you have the funds to launch a counter advertisement or at least negate it, saying through a notice in leading dailies that, okay, this and this claim made by this and this person is wrong? उपभोक्ताओं को सूचित किया जाता है, इसके झांसे में ना पड़े. Something like that. Okay. And the celeb versus influencer debate also. So you have had, say, the Bollywood people, the Bollywood folk, they have associated themselves with each and every brand that they can find. However, not a lot of focus was on them. So is the focus on influencers unfair? That is also a very fair question that you have to ask. That yes, we are talking about influencers, but what about these sets of people? You have companies now that are almost going to go bankrupt, not paying their loans. And you have had massive superstars of Bollywood associate with them and sell their courses when their time was high. Do they also own a part of that responsibility? Yes or no? Ethics question. See the tangents involved with any problem. A Central Consumer Protection Authority, just in our morning's thought, and I came up with these many tangents. Obviously, if you put your heart into it, you'll find that so many linkages are possible. And you need to have first obviously the information and then an analysis. Okay, this is what we look to do. Hi Lekam, no problems. You can watch the whole thing right from the beginning. It's very interesting and informative. You'll like today's class. Normally what happens is, guys, my class gets a little heavy. I realize that. Very content heavy. It's not very easy for, say, a first timer to understand. So I'll try and tone it down, but then not to a level where it will dilute the whole process. But then I understand. Most of you who were on my Telegram channel told me that you are first attempters. First attempt. So obviously I need to pick you up from the base, which is why I come right from the fundamentals. Okay. Let me know if you would like to change my way how I approach this. If there is anything I can do better, please let me know. Okay. Any feedback is always welcome. And if you can, please go ahead, like the stream. The likes are so miserable. They don't come only. Go ahead and do that for me, please. All right. Okay, so before I move on to the next one, the Indigo and Air India topic. Okay, let's look at this CSAT batch. I have announced it every class. Again, I'll announce it. CSAT important hai. Go ahead, please go ahead and at least look at the course. the module that has been planned out for you, designed for you. It's very scientifically thought out, because the mistakes of 2023, we can't do that. It's not desired, not for you and absolutely not for us. So again, the changes are a part of this. Extensive thrust, not just on say reading comprehension, but also making sure maths is to that level where you're not in that 60 to 80 zone. It's that heartbeat dhuk zone, no more there. Cross 100. Be safe, so that in the night of prelims you can go and sleep aram se. Okay? So go ahead, have a look at the course module on StudyIQ.com, and if you were to decide to join us, use this code so that I become a part of your journey, and we shall see you on the 30th of evening at 3:30 p.m. All right. I have a question from Swara. Swara, I think your date of birth is to be taken from the 10th mark sheet itself. Okay. I think that's the, to the best of my understanding, your date of birth is considered on whatever is there on your 10th mark sheet. So I would suggest you get your ID proof checked. If possible, write an application saying a mistake has been made. I don't think it should be a problem, right? You must have your birth certificate also. All right. So the duopoly argument now, guys. In India right now, we have basically what you're looking at is a duopoly system going on. Okay. Indigo and Tata. Tata is essentially in control of the whole Air India group, consolidating it. Air India Express, whatever the 2-3 constituents that they have. And Indigo obviously has been a long-term player. Okay. And so now it is looking to consolidate. In fact, you have what recently. Okay, first let's look at this. Third largest in the world. See, we are quite heavy flyers, in fact. No wonder our morning traffic near the airport is so bad. Okay. All right. Go First is grounded. Jet Airways, I don't think they are coming back anyways. SpiceJet struggling. And Akasa Airline is just taking off. So guess what? Who's in the prime position? One, obviously, you have Indigo. Thereafter, you have the whole Air India group, the Tata group. Okay. Now, what you have seen recently is Indigo has gone ahead and placed orders for 500 aircrafts. And currently, their total orders are 1,000 plus aircrafts. Okay. Air India has went ahead and placed for 470. Whereas Akasa, I think Akasa also came in and they placed an order for 37 aircrafts. Okay. So Akasa, because they are just taking off, so they need the basic number. Okay. So now what is happening here is you are looking at a direct fight, say, between Indigo and Air India for the aviation market. SpiceJet right now, let's not consider them because they are having their own sets of problems. Okay. So now in this particular scenario, is it good for the countries? First you have to realize. The same argument that you are faced with when say, should India have 1 or 2 large banks or many small banks? What would your answer to both be? Please let me know. Is India better with having, say, this kind of equation in the aviation market? Would that be desired? As a consumer, if you look at, say, the air flight prices right now, I can assure you, you'll be shocked. Okay. Try looking at flight price from, say, Delhi to Mumbai for this evening. Suppose you have an emergency and if you have to go to Mumbai, look at the flight price this evening. Okay. Or if you want to take your family to, say, Darjeeling and Gangtok, look at a flight price from Delhi to Bagdogra. Bagdogra is the nearest airport there. You will be shocked. Okay. Sometimes what you find is the international flight fare from, say, India to Maldives, Chennai to Maldives, Mumbai to Maldives is lesser than, say, Delhi to Chennai. Why is this variability? Why is the domestic flying experience so pricey? It is because right now you do not have, as a consumer again, you do not have the option. It's either these two or one of these two, which are again coming up in the market. There's not a lot of scope of growth. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead. Let's look at the domestic market share now. Just factual analysis, not a lot of understanding here. So Indigo, you are looking at 61.4%, Air India 9.4%, and then the rest just follow, the small airlines. So Indigo has cornered 60% close to of the whole market. Do you realize that they are the primary movers in terms of Indian aviation right now? Okay. Now, how are you going to deal with this in the future? So how are these two going to approach the market? Is there going to be a collaborative approach or a competitive approach? A collaborative approach will see, say, the Indian consumer benefit. Okay. But if it's a collaborative approach, you are going to look at a lot of problems for the Indian consumer, my bad. But if it's a competitive approach, in that case, you will find that the Indian consumer will benefit. Okay. So again, duopoly is never desired in an emerging economy or an economy that is looking to grow. As a consumer, you need to have many choices. However, in many sectors in India, what you find is that a duopoly has come up. In the driving sector, say automobile sector, car renting, you have Ola and Uber, duopoly. In food delivery, Zomato, Swiggy, duopoly. In the aviation sector, Indigo and Air India, duopoly. So do you realize that our options are shrinking is not good news? We need to have more options as a consumer, and only then can you reap the benefits of the market. It's absolutely like economics 101. Airtel Jio, yes Sandeep, see, you have duopoly emerging in several key sectors, and this is a trend in India. If you see, say China, you have options, but then they are all options of China government only. So do you realize Chinese example is not the fairest example. Even though you have options there, eventually they all lead to it's like the illusion of choice, you call it. Okay, what is the illusion of choice, guys? From the mains perspective, again, you should write this down. The illusion of choice. You know, for example, if you go to the supermarket, you find product A, B, C, D, all kept in front of the shelf in front of you. So you give yourself 5 minutes to think, okay, which one should I take? Do some price analysis, 180 ml for 20 rupees, 200 ml for this rupees. You do all that basic level maths, figure out what you want. But if you have to go deeper into the product, you will find that A, B and D are owned by X, C and F are owned by Y. Again, just limited options. The names are different, but then the product is being made by the same company. The illusion of choice. Okay. So this is how you're going to approach. First, how Indigo and Tata see at each other. How quickly does Akasa Air grow? You know what happens for airlines, guys? They need to operate for a certain number of years. Okay. A base level of years is required in the domestic market, suppose 5 years. If you have done well in the 5 years, only then you get an international flying license that you can fly internationally. Okay, did you know this? So first, if you want to start an airline, initially you will just fly domestic sectors. 5 years you do domestic sectors, then you will receive government permission. The Ministry of Civil Aviation will say that, okay, you are a credible player. Now go ahead and fly to, say, other foreign countries. So this is a barrier to entry. Do you realize? For 5 years, if you are just going to fly domestic and you know that the aviation market is the easiest way to become a beggar. You know, it's often said in the aviation industry that if you are a billionaire and if you want to become a millionaire, if you want to go down, invest in the airline industry. It's often an oft-said quote. Okay, because it's a loss-making proposition straight away from day one. So if you have to bear 5 years of losses before you can consider going international, many people are put off just like that. So that entry barrier needs to be quickly done away with. Okay. At the same time, that now government does not have any player in the market. You know, Air India was, say, a government carrier. Government does not have that anymore. So that also is there. That balancing factor in that particular market is gone. Because what would government do? Subsidize to a certain extent or do whatever. Price point could be achieved with both private participation and government participation. Now that price point is completely be done by the private. So you realize these are the pitfalls of having duopoly right now. Okay. You need entry of new level players. If again reports were to be believed last year, I think Etihad or someone, Etihad is a major airline in the Middle East. Emirates was also looking to foray into the Indian market. Okay. But return of interest is quite less. You know, it's not, again, airlines have varied amount of fees. The time your flight lands is essentially determinant of how much airport charges will the flight pay. You know, whether you go on a bus or you take that automatic thing where you just walk out from an airline gate and you are into the airport. Price. Airline has to pay for that. So these low cost airlines, they'll ferry you in buses. Have you seen that? They're saving money there. You know? So again, that also needs to be taken care of. Can there be a rationalization of resources? Can something be done to, say, facilitate the entry of new players regardless of whatever exists right now? Because this is not desired. And I'm just talking about the aviation. Think about the other sectors. All of you have given me examples, no? Take it. Okay. A lot of competition from other modes. So if you were to again just look at this, New Delhi, Bombay. Aaj sham ka, this evening, go ahead and say look at the airline flight price. This evening, have a look at the Rajdhani first AC price. Okay. You will see that airline prices are here, Rajdhani will be somewhere here. And I'm talking about first AC. Yeah? Do you realize? So they will need to come down eventually, or else people are just going to keep here. And if their prices are up, they are going to be loss making. No, their seats will be empty. समझ रहे हो? So again at the same time, in terms of the net zero carbon emissions, you and I are shifting to what? CNG, EV, we are doing. Railways are shifting to electric power. Where are these guys shifting to? No change. Okay. Refusal to change. Then they are surprised why no one wants to fly. Okay. That is also needed to be taken care of. They need to eventually go off to the sustainable aviation fuel route. Right now they take aviation turbine fuel, the ATF. They need to go to SAF. Make it carbon less intensive. Okay. So many challenges to the aviation industry you will see. As a sector, it is always under stress. I don't recall right from my childhood days a time till now where airline industry in India was like enjoying. Probably for a brief time in the middle when there was Kingfisher and Jet Airways, and it was like, oh my God, we are all going to have a good gala time, 35,000 feet up in the air. But other than that, it's always been a very stressed industry. Okay. So a thorough analysis of the airline industry is desired, guys. Because most of us would be well aware of, say, the road transport, railways. I know most of you will be well aware. Airline is something we need to discuss in detail. Okay. But I've given you the brief introduction so that you have an idea. Go ahead and read this article in the Indian Express. Okay. It's a very interesting article. It will tell you about what the challenges are. Now that I've given you the whole analysis of it. Okay. Okay. Let's move forward. All right. Let's look at Rani Durgavati now very quickly. The Prime Minister is headed to, I think, Madhya Pradesh. Okay. Rani Durgavati from Madhya Pradesh, the scion of the famous Chandela dynasty of Mahoba and the queen of the Gond. Two names you should remember, the Gond kingdom of Gadha Katanga. Okay. If you go to Jabalpur, present day Jabalpur, okay, you will find areas in Jabalpur which are called Garha. So she was a Gond queen, the scion is essentially what? Descendant, okay, of the famous Chandela dynasty. Rani Durgavati took on the might of the Mughal Empire with her courage and leadership. She was born in this Fort Kalinjar. Okay, it's considered to be one of the most impenetrable forts in India. Okay, Fort Kalinjar is where she was born. Okay, impregnable forts of India, which lies in the Banda district of Uttar Pradesh. Okay, so she was held by her father, a descendant of the Chandelas. You know who the Chandelas are very well, that they had built the Khajuraho temples. They were also responsible for fighting Mahmud Ghazni. Okay, so she belonged to that lineage. They were able to take care of the personal security. They were valiant in their efforts. So now this small kingdom, Gadha Katanga, emerged in central India when the normal vestiges of the Sultanate rule were thrown out by King Yadav Rai. So small kingdom came up finally. Rani Durgavati was the scion of this kingdom. And then her story starts. Okay. Now please realize that she did come from a descendant of warriors. Okay. So this warrior blood, you will see how it plays out. So she gets married to Dalpat Shah, who passes away in 1548. Now the Rani, the queen, what does she do? She installs her son. The son is put on the throne. Son was quite not very I think adolescent in age. So the son is on the throne and she starts ruling herself with two confidants. Remember these names, Adhar Kayastha and Man Brahman. Her two, right hand, left hand, Adhar Kayastha and Man Brahman. Rani Durgavati is now ready. The son is on the throne. Alright. She is best known for consolidating kingdoms and quelling rebellions. The rebellions in fact happening because she had gone on the throne. Matlab, basically taken the power, the regent power you call it. Okay. She was able to do that quite efficiently. And then comes this. According to a contemporary Persian source, Tariq-e-Farishta, written by, I think, Muhammad Qasim Farishta. Okay. So the Tariq-e-Farishta, it essentially writes tales of the Deccan area, okay, and it writes all up till Akbar's reign. Please make a note of this, guys. Okay. Tariq-e-Farishta. So written by Muhammad Qasim Farishta. Okay. And he chronicles the whole tales of that area in the Deccan and just beyond. Okay. So now he chronicles in his, whatever I'm going to tell you is written. It's not I'm making it up, by the way. So the final battle. So finally, she's repulsed by Baz Bahadur. Final battle that we have to understand now. So she is facing, along with her two confidants, Adhar Kayastha and Man Brahman. She is facing on the other side Qasim. Is it Qasim? Asaf Khan. Yes. So the Mughal governor Asaf Khan is on the other side. Now she runs into this area where there is a hill and there is a river on both sides. Okay. So Asaf Khan comes on day one, firstly. There are just 500 of Durgavati's men. Okay. Now the best example of what we understand today as guerrilla warfare. Have you heard of that word, guerrilla warfare? Yes. Hindi movie mein bhi kiya hai. If you have seen that movie of Irfan Khan where he is a student in Allahabad University, I believe, and he says guerrilla warfare karenge. So she engages in that. And how does she do it? Very interesting. So Asaf Khan, in full confidence, coming this way, 500 of them, they are both on this side. See how they are triangulating their fire from all sides. So first day, Asaf Khan, repulsed, suffers a lot of losses, and with just not 500, 5,000 individuals, she is able to aram se handle on the first day. But now the problem happens on the second day where she's lost herself, the hill on the back, rivers on both sides. What is happening is, now Asaf Khan comes with the big guns, the big artillery. And so now they're pinned down because you are going to get artillery shots from all sides without any losses. She is of the opinion, Rani Durgavati is of the opinion, let's charge them. Let's go ahead. Before they fire our artillery, let's take them down. The two confidants disagree. Her generals also disagree that no, we have entrenched ourselves here, we'll take care of them. However, whatever was expected happens. The artillery completely overwhelms Rani Durgavati and her soldiers. And in spite of that, she continues fighting, okay, takes down many. And when she's escaping, when she's escaping from the area, she's hit by 2 arrows. One in her temple, one in her neck. In spite of that, when she gets up, she's like, okay, I am badly injured, but then I'll be captured by these forces. I don't want to be captured. She takes a knife and takes her own life, protecting her honor, dying like a free person, a free woman, rather than a slave. That was the choice she made. And so why I'm telling you this story, guys, because when you are going and listening about, say, Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, okay, you must have seen one particular tangent of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav was to know about the unknown leaders of India. The Prime Minister had said once that in the 75th year of our independence, we should identify 75 individuals whom we do not know much about. Okay. Go ahead. I think I'll share a particular PDF, okay, today itself. There's a particular PDF of these 75 individuals. Okay. And the names there will tell you the stories of valor. It will leave you like astounded. This is another such story, Rani Durgavati's story. So in fact, if you go to Jabalpur, she's revered there, revered across the India, no doubt, but special relevance to that area. Okay, Rani Durgavati. It's very important in terms of, say, just the story, the outcome. You talk about, how feminine power. We have feminine power since, my God, since the time of our women thinkers only. Upala and how many other women thinkers we had. Gargi, Maitreyi. So we don't need lessons in women power from the Western world. We look at examples like this. So this is Rani Durgavati's story. Okay. Make a note of this. This is something that the UPSC will be interested in. They will not be interested in her stories of valor. But from the exam point of view, Tariq-e-Farishta, known to Chandela dynasty scion, directly linked to Khajuraho temples, Mahmud Ghazni, Okay. Rani Durgavati is an important art and culture concept that you should be aware of. All right. So that brings to the end this particular where we discussed 4 topics. In very short, we discussed the World Competitiveness Index. Then we did, what was the second topic? Consumer protection. Then after that, we did the airline industry. And thereafter that, we did Rani Durgavati. All right, 4 ones we have done. If you actually learned something out of this whole discussion, do consider leaving me a like. Okay. If any particular opinion or suggestion for me, leave me a comment, please. And if you would like to join my Telegram group, go ahead, scan this. I will share that PDF of those 75 leaders. Okay, have a look at it, guys. The stories of, it'll figure leaders from your particular area that you would not probably be aware of. Excuse me. Okay. So that is it for today. I hope it was informative, and I shall see you all tomorrow morning again at 8 a.m. Tomorrow again I'm looking at doing a topic. One topic that we could do is expand on this, the competitiveness index, regardless of whatever India's rank is and what all of that. What is the way we can improve? That ease of doing business that we talk about, no? How it can be better improved? From the GS3 paper point of view, or GS3, yeah, GS3 point of view, it is important. Okay? Alright guys, thank you for joining. I always like it, starting my morning with you guys. It's always very good. Okay? Is there any question for me? Any doubts of all the 4 topics? I'd be happy to take questions. I have 2-3 minutes. Madhusudan, question I'll put on the group only. Because today morning I was so busy in making sure that I had all the information for these 4 topics. Question बनाने के लिए मेरे को 10 मिनट चाहिए होगा अभी. मैं question बना के I'll put it on the group by 12. You guys attempt it. In fact, yesterday I received answers. Okay, let's quickly discuss that. I received answers for the US-India trade. Some very good answers. One answer I received this morning from Sandeep or Sandeepan, I forget the name. I have had a look at your answer, Sandeepan. I'll just respond back to you. Okay. Most of you, again, a common feedback I'll give you, especially for those 7-8 individuals who regularly send answers to me. A common problem that most of you have is that your intro and your conclusion is very weak. It's extremely, it does not convey a story. A conclusion should give you a takeaway, As a reader, as an evaluator, in the conclusion I'm looking at, okay, finally what takeaway is he offering out of the whole gyan that is written above? Okay, so don't make your conclusions abrupt. Introduce your topics like you would introduce to, say, your fellow UPSC aspirants. Assume that the person knows a certain level of proficiency. Don't begin from the NCERT level in your introduction. You're writing mains. Everyone is educated, the evaluator and you. So have a little bit of, medium centric approach. Don't start from the very basics that, okay, the definition is this. That's not how you should approach. Okay. Most of you, that's the mistakes that you do. I have shared 1 or 2 answers in the group, which have been very well drafted. I would again suggest all those of you who are interested in answer writing, if you have written an answer, never mind if the question is not here. If you have written an answer, send it to me. I'll just help you refine it. Okay, I don't profess to be an expert, but what I can definitely tell you is a very strategic approach, a very methodical approach of writing an answer. Okay, that I can help you with. Okay? Okay guys, I shall not take any more of your time if you don't have any questions for me. I will be uploading the questions for today's lecture around noon on my Telegram channel. I hope you will consider answering those, and please join me again tomorrow morning 8 a.m. as we'll look at another set of topics. Okay? Thank you guys. Have a wonderful day, and I shall see all of you, those who took time out this morning. I hope to see all of you again tomorrow morning 8 a.m. Okay?